This is Strange New Trek, a podcast about the life and times of Captain Christopher Pike. And now your hosts. In this episode of our recap of Star Trek Discovery, we asked the question, hey, do you guys remember about the Red Angel mystery? Because we're going to really dive into that one this week. And also, Captain Leland is going to start acting really Borg-y, but that shouldn't make you suspicious at all. So now, to talk about our recap of Disco Season 2, Perpetual Infinity, is my number one, Commander Dog, and our Chief Engineer, Chris Noonien-Singh. What's happening, Chris?
Not a whole lot, man. What's up with you?
Just my intolerance of Star Trek episodes, apparently.
Well, this one wasn't too bad. I actually enjoyed this one for the most part, but I think it has to do something with like the fact that we both think Strange New Worlds is a little bit better than Discovery.
Yeah, I can definitely lean on that.
Yeah, because the first time, I think I speak for you too, the first time we watched through Discovery, like we were both kind of riveted to everything for the most part. But now we have a taste of what could be. Yeah. And so I think I think that's tainting the show for us at least a little bit.
Yeah, because I did enjoy these on the first watch through. And I think part of it is I'm holding out for more Captain Pike stuff. And, you know, we've had Strange New Worlds where that was like the common. And now we've got him kind of playing more like a Picard role where he's in the background more often.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I still don't think it's bad. It's just not holding my attention the way that it was.
Yeah, again, I think that's all Strange New World's fault.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I'm going to hit a little housekeeping real quick, and then we'll dive into our recap here, okay? So we are going to be keeping on a bi-weekly release with this particular show, Strange New Trek. I will be adding in short things of a new idea I have called If It Can't Be Alpha, It's Got to Be Beta, where I'll recap beta content and beta canon stuff. But we're going to keep this on bi-weekly definitely until Strange New Worlds comes back, but maybe Picard or whatever. But if a show comes out that we're really paying attention to, we'll go back to weekly during those releases. And then when there's not new content that we want to cover, we'll set back to a bi-weekly.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to hit that because we were kind of juggling our release schedule. And then, of course, Chris, we got our other projects coming up. So
TBD.
Yep, we want to make room for all of that. But yeah, so, you know, I wanted to get some use out of that. If it can't be alpha, it's got to be beta. So, and I came up with a way to use it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. That was something that you said, like, in the first couple, I think. I don't remember when it was, but that was like the first comment that you said that I wrote down for like a t-shirt idea or whatever.
Oh, man. Yeah. At least
that, you know what? I think that was the Star Trek Is episode. You might have said that. That might have been it. Maybe.
Yeah, it could. I don't remember where it was. I just remember saying it, and I remember you later going like, "Oh yeah, I wrote that down." And so I was like, you know what, we can get some use out of this. So, all right, this week we are covering Perpetual Infinity, and we start off on Doctari Alpha in 2236. Dr. Gabriel Burnham dictates a log entry on the readiness of the Daedalus Project, preparing for the imminent supernova of the nearby Alpha Lupi that will provide the energy for the time crystal when she is called to dinner by her 10-year-old daughter, Michael.
Always the kids messing stuff up. Jeez.
Always. But you know what? I'm glad they slowly introduced the time crystal over a couple episodes before they drop it on us in one later, you know?
Oh, yeah. You know, I honestly didn't even catch that in this episode that they were dropping hints about the time crystal. Because, you're right. We don't really get into that a whole lot until the episode where we get Pizza Face Pike.
Yep, that's it. Until he starts looking like a Tony's microwavable. Yeah. In the dining room, Michael reads from the Starfleet pad about the supernova and asks her father, Mike, if Alpha Lupi will go supernova soon. Gabrielle enters at that moment saying that the universe had its own way of telling time. There's a visual distortion. Michael asks what that is. Somebody says that it could be like a meteorite, and then a Klingon bird of prey flies overhead and lands in the middle of the colony. Gabrielle hides Michael in the closet, telling her to be brave and not to make a sound. As the closet doors close, Commander Michael Burnham suddenly awakes in the sickbay of the USS Discovery, seeing Culber, Pike, and Giorgio. Culber explains that there are significant biological similarities between mothers and daughters, particularly in the mitochondrial DNA. Burnham first denies this, saying that her mother was dead, and that Leland had confirmed that himself. So she's having a little trouble adjusting the idea that that's her mom down there in the angel suit.
It's so weird, though, because I don't think mitochondrial DNA is like that. Like, because in the last episode, they were like, "Oh, the Red Angel is you, Michael." Mm-hmm. Well, it may have been like because I'm pretty sure Michael takes up the suit sometime after this, maybe. So it could have been that they were actually reading her, but like this idea that it's hard to tell the difference between a daughter and a mother using mitochondrial DNA. I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. I mean, mitochondrial DNA is all passed from the female side.
Yeah,
so yeah. I don't know how much of that hits. I mean, is it all identical? I guess it could be, but I know that in your regular DNA, you get half from each parent. And, if there's multiple kids, they all get different halves from each parent. That's why that's why we're not just one clone species.
Yeah, yeah. So, that was kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
But, it could just be my misunderstanding of all that stuff. I am not a biologist or whoever studies that stuff.
I have a passing interest in it, and that's about it. Like I love anthropology, physical and social anthropology, but just enough to be dangerous with it, not enough to actually do anything with it.
Just enough to say wrong things.
Exactly. That's and to think I'm right when I'm saying it, which is really the dangerous part. Yeah. Yeah, it's that thing where the less competent you are, the more convinced you are you're correct. I can't remember what that spike curve is called, but yeah, it's exactly that. So Pike tells her that her mother's actually being cared for down at the facility on SF4. And right then Culber has to stop Burnham from rushing into the transporter room because she's still deadly with radiation. And tells her she's, wait for at least that to fall off before you go back down there. Spock enters the room, noting that Burnham is awake, saying that she's awake sooner than expected, and was back to her old self again, which I mean she's probably going to pull a gun on the commanding officer at any moment.
Or cry a bunch, or both.
Yeah, or both.
Some combination thereof.
Yeah, one eye aims, one eye cries, baby. That's how it works. Aboard the NCIA 93, I'm never going to get over the name of that ship.
That's subtly named Section 31 ship, yeah.
Yeah, the USS Super Spy. Leland is strapped to a chair while he's being confronted by a holographic Burnham. Leland asks how long it thinks it will last, being as how they'd already figured out Admiral Patara was not real. Control says that every instruction was passed down through channels, and in time, even those who did not follow its agenda would willingly do so. This is it talking about, or this is Control talking about basically taking over first Section 31 and then all of Starfleet. But basically, we got the back and forth between the two of them. It's, Leland going, you're going to get caught. And then, Control first trying to make arguments to get him on its side, and then eventually just deciding to, take over. We're just going to pain our way into your head now.
May as well.
Yeah, so they jam a bunch of needles into him once their argument fails and fill him with nanotech, and he just starts screaming, and then we go to the act break going into Act 1. Back aboard the Discovery, while she observes her unconscious mother on her monitor, Burnham reviews the mission logs from the Daedalus suit and opens up the first during the Klingon raid on Doctari Alpha. That's also a really difficult name to get around.
If it's not Doctari Alpha, it's Doctari Beta.
That's it. That is it. Gabrielle dons the suit and intends to jump back 1 hour to get them out before the Klingons arrive. The mission logs are all addressed to her husband and her daughter, with Gabrielle explaining that no matter how many times she goes back in time, she's unable to stay permanently, as the anchor keeps pulling her back to where she had first arrived 950 years in the future. One log indicates that all life in the galaxy has been wiped out by an antimatter detonation caused by Control. Vulcan, Andoria, Tellar Prime, Deneva, and Earth are all dead planets.
Man.
That puts a big old hole in Starfleet and the United Federation of Planets right there.
Yeah, it does, when most of the planets part of it don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they done Star Warsed it up over here.
They really, really did. She remarks that she was in fact standing on Earth when she made that log entry, and as far as she could tell, she was alone. On the bridge, Tilly reports gravimetric instability centered around the Daedalus facility, and that it was not a normal occurrence. Pike asks Saru to pinpoint the possible cause, to which Saru invokes Newton's third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. He explains that Gabrielle and her suit are tethered to a point in the future, and the containment field holds them in the present. The tighter they hold, the stronger the time pulls back, which Pike compares to playing a tug-of-war with the universe. And, there's no way to win that over a certain given length of time.
Heck no.
No. Stamets enters and also reports a gravimetric instability and asks for more power. Typical engineer. Pike sends Stamets down to the surface to see what he could do, and then tells Bryce to send Culber down as well to wake their patient. So Pike's playing matchmaker at this point. Aboard the NCIA 93, Leland tells Giorgio and Tyler that their mission parameters had changed since they had originally set the trap believing that Michael Burnham was the Red Angel and not Gabrielle. Tyler remarks that perhaps she was sent back to make sure it didn't get it at all. No, I jumped over something there. We're talking about the sphere data. And Tyler's suggesting that maybe she's trying to keep Control from getting a hold of the sphere data. Giorgio kind of runs a Trojan horse scenario past him. Leland then tells Tyler to obtain the sphere data if Captain Pike won't protect it. He explains that they must. That seems a little bit sus, as the kids might say. When Tyler protests at committing espionage against another Starfleet vessel, Leland tells him that was the job, and if Tyler's connection to Burnham was giving him a pause, he reminds him that Burnham was being protected as well because she was more vulnerable. He asks if Tyler would prefer to see all sentient life destroyed because they failed to act. Tyler leaves without a word, and a suspicious Giorgio comments on how resolute Leland seems to be. The times call for it, Leland replies as he walks off. If this were a game of Among Us, I would be calling him a murderer right about now.
Well, you wouldn't be far off if we were talking about last season for sure. But so I know at this point, Leland is not himself.
Mm-hmm.
Leland's been taken over by Control as well at this point. And I guess that the whole line about Burnham being protected too is not true. How could it be?
Yeah, I am not 100% sure, because anything Leland says now is obviously not trustworthy.
Yeah, except, I mean, obviously they don't know that, but we do, but yeah. I was like, how? She's protected, huh? Because she's vulnerable. Do you mean because she cries a lot? Is she protected over that?
Yeah. So, Burnham vents her outrage at Gabrielle's decision not to speak to her, but to Pike instead. This was the thing that she had woken up and told Culber that she was ready to talk, and then Burnham was going to beam down, and everybody's like, oh, not to you. She'll talk to Pike. Pike beams down to the facility where Non tells him that he will not be able to cross into the containment field, but come up close enough to it that he can speak with Gabrielle. Gabrielle Burnham tells Pike that she had come to rescue her daughter, but that he had deceived her. Gabrielle claims that she knows nothing about the 7 red burst signals and tells Pike he has to delete the sphere archive to stop the AI from evolving.
Yeah, see, this is the thing that got me to, like, even when I was originally watching this episode, it was like, maybe it was Burnham then. If Gabrielle is unaware of all that, because all that stuff would have happened in her past, regardless of past, present, or future for the Discovery.
Right.
So she definitely would have been aware. And like, you know what? I don't really care for Gabrielle's like attitude that like most of this episode, it's just very off-putting. It's like, your daughter is here to help you out, and you're just, you know, we'll get to that.
So that actress, I can't think of her name right now. That actress I know from The Wire, where she played a hard ass cop in Baltimore. And it kind of seemed like she carried that through to this role, you know. So Pike refuses, and Gabrielle calls him a ghost, because I guess to her, everybody's a ghost, right?
Well, yeah, she's seen the whole universe die.
Yeah. Saru protests against deleting the Sphere archive, but Burnham and Pike agree that it is necessary. Saru begins deleting the archive, but an error alert sounds, and the archive begins partitioning itself to reconfigure its security directives into a new language matrix. Windows 7.
Yep. Gotta hate it.
Yep.
They still use SQL and Windows 7. Jesus.
Well, you know, they were trying to save money, you know.
Had to pause for an update.
Yep.
And the update got corrupted.
Spock reviews Gabriel's mission logs and realizes that his logic training and human emotion gave him the psychological balance to comprehend her, and his dyslexia allowed him to process the effects of atemporal dysplasia.
Now, wait a second.
Science.
Spock has dyslexia.
Yes. They've pointed this out in like 2 or 3 episodes this season, that he has Vulcan dyslexia.
Have they really? Because this is the first time I really, like, I feel like if they had talked about it the last couple episodes, like, they just quickly glanced over it.
His mom brings it up before they actually find him, or the episode where they find him on Vulcan.
I do not recall any times where they mentioned it except for this one, but I'll say you're right. I don't know. We have many, many years of Spock, and never has it ever been established that he has dyslexia, as far as I know.
Nope.
Like in TOS or past that. Like, so this is the first I'm hearing about it.
Yep. I remember they established that his heart is where his liver would be if he was human, that he has a third eyelid, that he could use psychic powers, that he knocked people out with a neck pinch. I remember all that stuff. Dyslexia
Sure.
escapes me.
Maybe Vulcan dyslexia is not nearly as crippling as human dyslexia can be.
Yeah, maybe
that's it.
Maybe they can deal with it or something. Leland tells Tyler to stay aboard and keep an eye on things, as the Red Angel was awake and Tyler was the only thing between survival and obliteration. Pike concedes that with a little time remaining, Burnham must try to reach her mother. Burnham believes that her lack of knowledge suggests the signals were a false flag by Control.
Where was Alex Jones to point that out when you needed him to?
Oh, man.
He loves false flags.
Could you imagine where Alex Jones would fit into a future like this?
Well, you know, they portray Earth as some nice utopia where everybody gets along. I don't know if there's a place in Star Trek's Earth for a person like Alex Jones.
No, but maybe he's on like Alpha Centauri. You know,
still using shortwave radio, probably.
Yeah. And these warp waves are making the frogs gay on Alpha Centauri.
Until the Star Trek equivalent of Kanye West comes on, and then Alex Jones is like, well, you're too crazy for me.
You sound crazy. I can't play the crazy things you're saying.
Yeah, you know you're crazy when Alex Jones thinks you're crazy.
Yeah. Oh, man. Gabrielle asks Michael if they've deleted the Sphere archive. Michael replies that they were finding a way. Michael tries to reach out to her mother, but Gabrielle stops her, saying that time was savage and that having this conversation was meaningless. Michael refuses to accept this, and Gabrielle tells her that she had to let Michael go so she could alter the timeline again.
Yeah, this is the scene where I was just like, wait a second. I couldn't stand hearing this from Gabrielle, because she says 1 second that she's doing all this to help her daughter, and then the next second, like, oh, nah, I just been pretending like you don't exist because I had to watch you die a couple hundred times. So, like, you know, you're not a whole lot to me. But then again goes back to, I did all this for you.
Yeah.
Like, make up your mind, man.
Yeah, I see this in a lot of storytelling nowadays where they flip things between a character and what they're saying so often that they have like 9 different motivations by the time you hit the end of it.
Yeah, well, it isn't like we're getting this back and forth between episodes. Like, this is legitimately within like the same paragraph of dialogue that she goes back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's so weird.
It is inconsistent, and it's yeah, I mean, it's just inconsistent. You shouldn't be able to hold all those thoughts in your head simultaneously.
Well, I mean, at the same time, humans are complex. There's nuance to this. So, but like, you know, near the end of this particular scene, she's like, basically there's only the bigger picture now, nothing else. Like, how is that congruent with you doing all this for your daughter?
Yeah, because in the large picture, individuals wouldn't matter.
Nope. Yeah. The needs of the many, fool.
Exactly. Yeah.
And should have went forward in time and watched that for a second.
Oh. All right. Burnham asked Stamets how long before the containment field failed. Stamets estimates 43 minutes.
That's a pretty specific time.
Yeah.
43 minutes.
And 12 seconds.
That sounds like a Scotty thing. Yeah, he's really like, yeah, I could fix this thing in 10 minutes, but we're going to tell him it's 43.
Yeah, we go by a factor.
We're saying 43
around here.
Yeah, we're saying 43 just so it seems more believable. Yeah. So, like, in like 20 minutes, we'll get up and go do that. Whatever.
Yeah, Tyler offers to send down more power from the NCIA 93, but Stamets says that will not work because equal and opposite reactions are what they are. Oh, good Lord. So if they add more power, they'll be pushing against more power.
Well, it's not approaching light speed because they're going to push more power. They're like going to put more power into something that's pushing on them. So really, they're going to cancel each other out. That was the whole point of that thing. Because, he says in that statement, like, I'm going to channel my inner Newton. And that's what that is. Like,
yeah, well, no, there's like, that thing as you approach light speed, your mass increases. So even as you keep pushing to reach light speed, your mass gets heavier, so it takes more to get you there. So you're not, you can't get there. At least as we understand it right now.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
I haven't I know a little bit about all that stuff. I didn't know about the mass thing, but I know that the closer you get to light speed, I think we talked about this in the last episode.
Time dilation. Yeah.
Time dilation. So for you, it's quick. But for the people back on Earth, it may have taken years for you to get there and back. And so you've effectively traveled to the future.
Yep. Oh, yeah. You know what this is like? This is like a Chinese finger trap. Remember those when you were a kid?
I do.
The more you fight it, the tighter it gets.
Yeah, my dad used to do this pinky thing with me where he would curl my pinky finger. And it was fine until I started trying to pull away from it, and then it hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew what it was called. I mean, it doesn't work on adults for some reason. Like, I can't, it doesn't bother me at all. But when I was a kid, man, that thing would hurt.
Oh, yeah.
If I tried to pull against it.
Yeah. Yeah, if I remember right, it's called a monkey bite because you actually, you got to squeeze down on the finger so that you're pushing the tip of the first knuckle into the base of the last knuckle on the hand.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't have to push that hard because all the pain comes from you trying to pull away from it.
You let them do the work once it's sitting in place. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Stamets' examination of the Red Angel suit revealed it had almost infinite data storage, and a pattern enhancer could be infused with dark matter particles to lock onto Gabrielle and beam her into their space-time permanently. Because she's kind of in between.
See, that's because they're not using SQL in the future.
Right.
That's why they can hold that much information.
Yeah.
After hearing all that stuff about SQL injection, I will never not make fun of it.
No, I think it's fair game. I think it's totally fair game.
All the things they could have said. Everything on the Earth currently, they could have said SQL injection.
Or just thrown some initials together. Just
they could have just said data injection or something.
Quantum packets.
Sure.
Leland explains the plan to Giorgio and wonders why she does not feel threatened by the elder Burnham. Giorgio asks about Tyler, and Leland remarks that Tyler had limits, but Giorgio did not, before handing her an amplifier to place on the Red Angel's suit. So he's relying on her and knowing where she's from to kind of like do things that other people might not accept, but because she's from like the parallel universe where everything comes down to like the ends justify the means, he's thinking she'll do it when Tyler is kind of a pushover for Michael Burnham.
Yeah.
Gabrielle notices her suit's visor activate and asks Giorgio what Pike and Burnham were up to. Giorgio replies that Terrence did not believe in self-sacrifice, but Gabrielle believes she would be surprised what she would do for the people she loved. Giorgio remarks on the simple, elegant, yet incredibly powerful design of the suit, and Gabrielle warns her against using it. Giorgio retorts that her mother taught her many things, including how to survive. Tyler notices the display on Leland's ship, and Leland tells Tyler to monitor the transmission and leave orbit as soon as it arrives. So my attention span was starting to dwindle, and my notes start getting sparser and sparser as this episode goes.
Well, I mean, all the cool things happen in the last little bit of it.
Yeah.
I mean, for me.
Well, let's hope I pick up my note taking as it goes. Giorgio prepares to leave, but Gabrielle asks her to make a promise to take care of Michael. Giorgio admits that she rarely makes promises, but Gabrielle insists that she can't as long as the AI exists, and Michael tells her she won't have to give up her life. Giorgio calls Tyler on a secure channel and threatens to hunt him down and kill him slowly if he betrays her. So
may as well.
Yep, she's on to Leland. I can't tell if Tyler is or not, though. Like Tyler's, suspicious, but I don't know that he's more suspicious.
Compared to Giorgio, Tyler is super naive when it comes to Leland's motivations. Like even before he got taken over, like he doesn't necessarily have like this rosy. He's not wearing rose-colored glasses when he's talking about Section 31, but he definitely seems super naive as to like what they really, really do. It would be kind of like, some surface level CIA agent who doesn't have really anything to do with the dark stuff that they do, getting filtered information about some of the secretive stuff they do, and like kind of like, well, there's got to be a reason they do it like that, even if there's not really a good reason. I don't know. Like that's just the impression that I get of him. Like he's like a super green CIA agent that still has like rose-colored glasses on when he's looking at the CIA. Even though, I mean, obviously they serve a purpose in our country and in Star Trek. So like they do what they do, but yeah. Tyler's way more wet behind the ears than Giorgio when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah. The differences in their basic backgrounds, if nothing else,
Oh, for sure. Because Giorgio as a Terran, like that was her life. Like every day was some crazy thing, like where she had to hold on to power. So she's up on that stuff. I mean, Tyler did go through some stuff, but I feel like he's still wearing the rose-colored glasses for the most part. Like he can take them off sometimes, but not nearly as much as he should. That's for sure.
Yeah. He's kind of duped. So Stamets has taken some retrofitted pattern enhancers with dark matter. This is when they start doing all their I Love Science stuff, which should allow him to beam Gabrielle into their space-time permanently. Gabrielle warns him that time is not on their side, but Michael insists that she's going to save her from this, but mostly from herself. Yeah, because Gabrielle's kind of a defeatist or a fatalist in her approach to this whole situation.
Yeah, and it pisses me off what the sequence that she says next, like, oh, I don't give a crap about you, but I've watched every major event in your life.
Yeah.
Like, what?
This is, again,
this is what I'm talking about.
This is towards the end of the movie when the kid has to chase the dog off for whatever reason, Go on, get out of here. I hate your stupid dog face. That's kind of what she's doing. And we've seen this before too, you know?
Yeah, I really do not like Gabrielle, like, at all. Like, even in the future episodes with her, like, I have never ever liked her character at all. Like, it's not the actress's fault. It's just the writing of her is not great, in my opinion. Because, what, I don't want to, like, spoil further seasons for people if they haven't seen it. I know that's never been a concern for us before, but just the person that she becomes later is still just like, none of this makes sense. Make it make sense, please. I know that you're Ant-Man right now, and then you go and hang out with Vulcans. I'm not sure what is going on with her.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. There's some just kind of weird stuff going on here.
Yeah, it is weird. Like, she went from saying that thing you said, like, oh, go on, get out of here. I don't need you anymore. To being like, I've watched everything. Remember that time you did that improper thing to yourself back when you were 18? I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird, man.
Then Beavis and Butthead joke. Oh, you couldn't have seen that. I was under the blankets.
It is very reminiscent of that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's some good stuff here. So my notes get real sloppy right here. Giorgio deactivates the amplifier. Tyler finds Leland's face deformed and his eyes completely black. Leland/Control stabs Tyler in the gut. And then the Section 31 ship diverts the data transfer and reactivates the amplifier after snapping his hostage's neck. Who is the hostage here? What did I forget to put that down?
It's just a crew, one of the Discovery crewmen.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because they don't really do a good job of naming all their crewmen. That's probably why.
Unfortunately, we wouldn't know because the dude wasn't wearing a red shirt. So
yeah,
that was a problem.
Yeah.
If he was wearing a red shirt, it'd have been fine. We'd have known exactly what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, there probably would have been some like racist Irish last name, you know.
Probably.
Mr. O'Milligwee, would you put down the whiskey and give us a hand over here?
And then gets his neck snapped.
Snap.
Dang.
I forget sometimes when you watch TV from the 60s how anti-Irish a lot of the humor is. And then I'll watch like, Me TV on Saturday nights. They'll do the old Batman and then roll into Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
And you have, was there Commissioner Gordon, but then there was Chief O'Reilly or somebody was like the name. He was this real stereotypical cop. And then when you get into episodes of Star Trek, like every second or third episode has some stereotypical Irishman in there. And, was the kid that beat Jim Kirk up in school, Finnegan or something was his name, and he's just this like drunken Irish bully. They have all these characters like that. I'm like, wow, that anti-Irish sentiment was still going on in the 60s, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Irish, it's not racism, but I don't know what's the word for it.
Ethnicism or
sure, something like that. That was a thing back in the day. They were afraid all the Irish people were going to take their jobs.
Oh yeah.
Americans are always afraid somebody's going to take their jobs when really they're just taking the jobs that Americans don't really want to do.
Yeah. They're always Catholic too. Those Catholics are coming over here from Ireland and Mexico and Italy and Poland, and they're taking all our jobs.
Well, I mean, if you recall, that was a big gripe about Kennedy because he was like, I believe he was our first Catholic president, and they were afraid.
No, he was our first. Biden's our second.
Oh, was Biden a Catholic? I don't know much about Biden aside from basic stuff, but yeah, I mean, Americans love having problems with people.
Yes, we do. I'm over in a part of California where a lot of people came in. Well, a lot of the people here came from Oklahoma to pick fruit. And back then, it was all the Okies were coming to take our jobs. And Okie was still an insult when I was growing up. You want to call somebody poor trash or ignorant or so, you just call them an Okie. And the other thing was, when I was growing up, there were very few Catholics here that weren't Mexican. So just knowing a white Catholic was like this really weird thing around here. So I never admitted that my family was Catholic until I was like 15. You know, we'll just keep that. Look, you're a Catholic Okie. Shut your mouth. Nobody needs to know that, okay? So
Americans, if early Americans, if you weren't a white, straight Protestant, we had an issue.
Oh yeah, you did not fit in anywhere. That is for sure. Leland I'm going to quit doing this. When I say Leland or Control, I'm referring to the same person now at this point. I'm not going to keep.
Yeah, gotcha.
Leland fires through the containment field, disabling the Red Angel's suit and causing the time crystal to emit a pulse of energy. Giorgio disarms him and engages him in a furious melee.
I hate this. I hate the scene with her fighting him. Because, I mainly know her from Kung Fu movies.
Yes.
And she's a badass in those movies, like always.
A little tiny angry badass.
Yep. So I really wish that they had shot these scenes with her fighting. Really, any scene where Giorgio's fighting, I wish they would have shot it more like a Kung Fu movie. Because that's where she really shines with her choreographed fighting. Like, she really shines in that arena, and you just can't get that with the fast close-up cuts that we do on American TV with fight scenes these days.
Chris, what I'll bet it is. First off, fight scenes are hard to shoot. I mean, they are hard to shoot.
No,
but Michelle Yeoh could literally bend somebody in half and stuff their own head up their own butt. And any actor or stuntman they picked, she could literally outmove them. She's been doing
probably.
Yeah, she's been doing this for 30 years, or probably longer at this point. Yeah, I mean, she is like, if you go and you watch like her doing any fight choreography or anything, she's astounding, especially when she was a little bit younger, But
I mean, she was in the Marvel Shang-Chi movie, and her fight scenes in that were really good.
Mm-hmm. Because I saw a bunch of her stuff back in the 90s,
Wasn't she in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
She was, yeah. I can't remember the role that she was in, but she was definitely in it. And
she was in one of, if it wasn't that one, she was in one of those more popular Kung Fu movies back then in the 90s. It might have been that one. It might have been something else. But like, she is a badass. And it just sucked seeing like the potential of those fight scenes like just get screwed up by how Americans like to shoot fight scenes.
Yeah, well, in this case, I'm gonna bet it's because Leland and his stunt double probably couldn't keep up with her.
Well, you may be right on that.
Yeah. You just watch anything she's done, and like you compare her. I mean, who were our big martial arts guys in the 90s? Seagal, who was a joke. Van Damme, who was more show than practicality, but could move, but she could at least performatively outdo them all on screen.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but like my favorite Kung Fu movies of the modern times are all the Ip Man movies with Donnie Yu.
I just watched those.
Oh my God, they're so great.
And not to get us too far offside, once they introduced Bruce Lee as an adult, whoever was playing him was outstanding. Oh,
and then even I think it was the third one. Mike Tyson was in there, and that was oh my God, that scene was so good with them fighting.
No, that was
so. I wish they I wish they'd have shot this more like that.
Yeah, but again,
but you're right.
Now you're talking about a Hong Kong film industry that makes fight movies. Compared to, I don't even know who directed this or who would have done the fight choreography or the cinematography. But I'll tell you what, they probably weren't the Hong Kong fight guys, Yeah,
and you're probably right. It would have just looked, I don't know, she would have been in too much control, I guess, of the fight if they tried to. And plus, like, if she was getting her ass whipped, you wouldn't believe that.
Nope. You're kind of in a situation where you cannot win no matter which way you go.
Yeah, that's you know what, that's an argument that I'll take. I'll accept it. Yeah, because I'll accept that.
You shoot it up close and tight, and that way you don't have to really worry about the details of it, and you can make the fight pitch whatever direction you need it to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's a fair point. I don't like it, but
no. But
I'll
it's shooting like that is what makes Christian Bale's Batman look like such a super badass in the first Batman movie he did.
Oh yeah,
because they close in like
sure.
that, and it just looks like he's just throwing 15,000 fists a second.
But that's what I love about kung fu movies, because they take it back.
Yeah,
and you can see everything happening. But all those guys are just, and gals are just, they're great at their craft, man. They know how to make fight movies.
And that's the thing, is a lot of those guys, I realize we're way off field here, but a lot of those guys are legit martial artists, but who also know how to make a fight look good on screen, which is a whole different thing than being able to beat somebody up.
And that's why I like Donnie Yen, man, or
Yep.
Donnie Yen. I mean, I've seen his name both ways, but yeah, that's why I love him, man. I know he can fight, but just the way it all gets choreographed on screen just is amazing to me.
Well, yeah, because the Ip Man,
so
he's doing Wing Chun the whole time, and that's not exactly like an impressive looking fight style, but they make it look great in those Ip Man films.
Well, so it's impressive looking, but it's not very practical in a real fight.
I not the way it was done on screen, but the way actual Wing Chun is, it is actually pretty practical in a fight. But it's different.
Okay,
I don't portrayed on screen.
I don't know enough about all that stuff to argue one way or the other, so I'm just gonna have to take your word for it, bud.
It was the foundation of Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do came from Wing Chun.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Ip Man taught him.
Yep.
So. Makes sense.
But you know what? We can talk kung. Yeah, if we want to start a third show about kung fu movies, I'm down. But we'll save that conversation for then.
Anybody, an editor out there we can hire, because I can't edit all these.
I'm gonna need a break. Oh, let's see here. Gabrielle tells Burnham that they have to destroy the containment field, but Burnham tells the Discovery team to beam them up, then blow the place to hell. Pike orders Reese to fire photon torpedoes at the SF facility, but OO reports that Leland has escaped and that the Section 31 ship has masked its warp signature.
Of course.
Burnham watches one of her mother's mission logs and believes her mother was right to promise to come back for her and her father once the time storm passed. Spock enters, and they set up a three-dimensional chessboard, and then Burnham begins to contemplate her first move. So, this one, again, I think, you know what it is, Chris? I think with these episodes, I'm waiting for what is the next episode. I think I've been waiting to get back to that one, and that's probably why I haven't been as focused on the ones we've done lately.
You know what? I'm going to have to agree with you there. I think that has been my issue as well, because like we both said, like when we originally watched these, like I don't know about you, but I was fairly riveted to all of this. Like it was great. But yeah, right. Like now that we've seen what can be, it's like, okay, come on, let's get there. Let's get back there.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of what's going on. This next episode, I think it's called in the Valley of the Shadow of Death, or it's some play on that biblical verse. We see things about Pike that are going to be formative for his character from here and all the way through Strange New Worlds. And that's kind of what I think I'm waiting for.
Yeah, I really hadn't been able to put it in words before that, but I'm fairly certain that's where I'm at myself.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I think we're headed there. Did you have any thoughts on this episode that you wanted to address?
This episode was way more entertaining than the last couple on this second watch through. Like I said, all these episodes were awesome when I first watched them. But yeah, because I know it can be. I'm just waiting to see that story furthered instead of necessarily the Discovery's story.
Yeah, I think that's really a big part of what's going on. Is I want to get back to the Pike stuff.
Yeah, they've done such a good job with Star Trek, and so I don't want to take that away from Discovery. Discovery is a great show. It really is.
It is. I definitely don't want to come down on the side of the people that are anti-Discovery and those people that refer to it only as STD. I don't want to support their viewpoint. Matter of fact, there's been a part of me that was thinking as we start waiting out for the new series to start, I may go back and find some of the anti-discovery videos so you and I can do reaction episodes to them.
Oh, I would definitely be a fan of that.
Yeah, especially now that we've had the benefit of time and every one of their predictions being wrong. You know?
Yeah.
I thought it would be especially fun to tear into them because, look, I'm a guy who will argue with a 5-year-old and poke a grown man right in the chest when I call him wrong. So, you know, that's
especially when it has to do with a fandom that I like.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I mean, the wrong thing you can ever do for me is make me feel like I have moral superiority. That's the worst position to ever put me in, you know? Chris, did you pull up any info on what we're doing next week, or are we going to go ahead and skip that?
Oh no, man, I can't skip that. So
Okay.
The next episode has Gabrielle dying in an abandoned warehouse. Her arm is being eaten by a mutated emperor, and I kind of think this might be Giorgio. It doesn't say, but I think it might be Empress. Sorry, not emperor. And with the help of a neural implant, she must prevent war in order to save her world. So, we're kind of getting back to the Red Angel story here. Like, it should be okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep it rolling from there, I imagine. Yeah. Oh, man. All right, cool. Hey, so if you have any questions, comments, or theories you want to run by us, hit us up on our website at strangenewtrekshow.com. Or go ahead and follow the links wherever you're listening to the podcast at, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can follow the links from there. If you're listening to us as a podcast, please rate and review us wherever you find us at. If you're checking us out on YouTube, please subscribe and hit all the little bells and things like that. That would help us out a lot. So it's one small step for you, but a giant leap for the show. Special thanks to Miguel Esparza for the Strange New Trek theme, and Will Harding for all his hard work down in the YouTube department. And thank you for listening, and don't forget to set your phasers to stun, and join us next time when we're on to the next planet of the week.